The main thing is to protect these characters, make sure that they still continue to live in the way that you created them, and that the universe of Star Wars continues to grow.
Liar! In honor of the release of Indiana Jones and the Dial of Dog Shit, I would like to go back in time and recap on all the success that Disney Lucasfilm have had. Breaking so many records like having the first female character in Star Wars, having the first transgender actor in Star Wars, having the first female character in Indiana Jones, and having the first lesbian couple in Willow. So let's start off with Disney Lucasfilm's first massacre, and that is the retcon of the expanded universe and the shutdown of LucasArts. Man, this was a kick in the balls to every EU fan, getting rid of stories like the Thrawn trilogy and getting rid of iconic moments like Chewbacca's death. It made no sense why they would do it. Plus the shutdown of LucasArts, where they were developing Star Wars 1313 and Battlefront 3, which was almost complete. It was a sad and tragic day for LucasArts fans and fans of the EU. But don't worry, Disney said, oh, we're going to make a new canon timeline with Rey Skywalker, the bestest ever. And we're going to make an adaptation of Heir to the Empire, you know, the one story that we retconned, and we're just going to make a shitty version of that. And we're going to bring in the Old Republic, you know, the iconic game that everyone loved. Well, we're going to bring that in, and we're probably going to make Revan non-binary. And with the gaming side, we're going to give the rights to EA to make any Star Wars game they want. And of course, be scummy like they always are. Now, granted, EA has gotten better with their Star Wars games. After Battlefront 2's horrible launch, they decided that, oh yeah, we're going to give free DLC, free characters. We're going to get rid of the microtransactions. We're going to basically make it fun. And of course, Respawn's Star Wars Jedi series being fantastic. So not everything turned bad, but everything before that was something special. Something that everyone looked forward to. And we'll never get that again. Oh, the sequel trilogy. It had so much potential. I'm not gonna lie, I was one of those people that really loved The Force Awakens when it came out. I saw that movie twice in theaters. I was really happy where they were going with Star Wars. You know, all the characters had potential. Rey, Finn, Poe. And then The Last Jedi came out. And that completely ruined everything. Having Rey just be great at everything, even though she had no training. Finn's story arc could have been a stormtrooper to becoming a Jedi. That would have been interesting. And there's so many things that could have happened. But instead, all of that was thrown away in the trash by Rian Johnson. And all we get is a mess of a trilogy that completely had no plans on where they were going. And of course, we cannot forget about Jake Skywalker, you know, the guy that pretends to be Luke, the hero that brought his father back from the dark side after everyone, Obi-Wan included, had no faith that he would return, but Luke was the only one that did. Luke saw some good in him. That's what he never gave up on his father. He never gives up on anybody. But in The Last Jedi, they completely throw everything away, and he basically tries to kill his nephew, his own flesh and blood. And all we get is a grumpy, depressed old man who dies a coward. You know, would have been really cool to see Luke Skywalker go out there with a bang, saving everybody, saving the rebellion, his sister, Rey, all of them. No, it was a forced projection. And he basically just dies of tiresome. So, yeah, great. And of course, the Rise of Skywalker, which, I'll be honest, I did not see. Because I just had no interest in Star Wars anymore. I had no interest in what they were going to do in that movie. Bringing back Palpatine did not help. He was basically a backup plan because Snoke died in The Last Jedi. And of course, the most iconic scene in Star Wars history, the one that everyone will remember for years to come, Rey Skywalker. Because, you know, it's called The Rise of Skywalker, so we need a Skywalker in the movie. Except she's not a fucking Skywalker. The sequel trilogy had so much potential, but it was ruined by one person. And it's not Rian Johnson. It is, of course, Kathleen Kennedy. The one that is in charge of the entire company. The one that greenlets all of these projects. And she had no plans on how the trilogy was going to go. Say what you will about the prequel trilogy, but at least George knew what he was going to do. He knew what the journey was going to be. It was going to be about the origin of Darth Vader, Anakin Skywalker. And yeah, the way he executed is not going to fit well with everybody, but at least he knew what he was doing, what direction they were going. And even further back, let's say the first Star Wars movie, yeah, they had no idea that it was going to be a success, but at least they tried to figure out, you know, where to go with this. That's like the only time, because that was a new franchise back then. Here, it's no excuse. They have all the source material. They have all the books, the games, whatever they could take inspiration from, but they do none of that. So not only do we get the sequel trilogy, we also get spin-offs like Solo, a Star Wars story, Rogue One, a Star Wars story, Obi-Wan, The Mandalorian, and etc. We'll start off with Rogue One, because Rogue One, at least, you know, I would say out of all the Disney Star Wars movies, this is probably the best one, but that's not saying much. Because this movie also suffered through production hell. With all the reshoots, Gareth Edwards basically didn't film his own movie. They had to hire a ghost director. They basically had to rewrite the script, I believe. And it's not as bad as, say, you know, Solo, which they fired their directors, Lord and Miller, when they were not 98% almost complete with the film. And they had to reshoot everything, basically bring in Ron Howard, because they didn't like the direction that they were going. And all we get is a mess of a film. And guess what? It flopped. Solo lost money. Like, who the heck asked for a Han Solo movie? I mean, how he got his name, how he got his blaster, how he got the Millennium Falcon, how he met Lando, like, all that stuff. Did we really need a movie, an origin movie for Han Solo? No, come on. The cool thing about it is that, you know, all the things he said, like the Kessel Run, let's just leave it like that as a story that he tells during A New Hope. We didn't need a full movie about that. And what we got is basically a disappointment. And after The Rise of Skywalker, they started to shift their focus on Disney Plus shows, with The Mandalorian being the start of all their exclusive Disney Plus shows. Now, the first two seasons I quite enjoyed. I mean, they're not perfect, but at least there was some enjoyment of it. Like, it felt like, you know, a space western, which, I mean, usually does not fit well with Star Wars, but at least in this case, it worked. The ending of season 2, I was one of those people that cried like Star Wars Theory when Luke Skywalker showed up. And yeah, the CGI doesn't look that great, but It was great to see Luke being Luke. But don't worry, Lucasfilm took notes from everyone's reaction, and they were like, no, we can't have Luke be a hero. He has to be miserable and grumpy. So let's basically make him that again in the book of Boba Fett, of all things, where he's training Grogu and basically tells him that, you cannot have these emotional feelings for somebody. Jedi's basically doing the same exact problems that the Jedi Council did back in the Clone Wars, which in the EU, Luke was against that, and he basically says, like, you can marry, you can have a blaster, you can wear normal clothes, all that stuff, and if somebody goes to the dark side, we will help them. We will help them, bring them back to the good side. But no, instead, we get all of the things that we hate about The Last Jedi, and it's all basically the origin story of grumpy Jake Skywalker. And speaking of Book of Boba Fett, where the fuck was Boba Fett? What I saw on the screen was not Boba Fett. That was some lame dumbass that tries to pretend he's Boba Fett. Boba Fett is a badass bounty hunter who always gets what he wants. He's a bounty hunter first. But instead, he's like what the fuck is he? Like, I have no idea. He's just lame. And it was so bad that Tamir Morrison hated what they did. If he says it, the guy that plays Boba Fett says it, that it's terrible, then you did something wrong, Lucasfilm. But yeah. And plus, some of the episodes, he's not even in it. Instead, Mando's in most of these episodes, and he's taking over his show. So basically, it's Mandalorian Season 2.5. But not to worry, Lucasfilm is not done yet with ruining characters. We got Obi-Wan Kenobi, the return of Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan. Everyone was excited for this. Prequel fans were raving about this a lot. They were very excited to finally see Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan and Hayden Christensen as Anakin. Like, what could go wrong? This was the final nail in the coffin for Lucasfilm. They have pissed off the original trilogy fans. They have pissed off the sequel trilogy fans even. And now they pissed off the prequel fans. Obi-Wan is a disgrace to the character. It ruins everything about Obi-Wan and his mission to protect Luke Skywalker. It shows you that Kathleen Kennedy, Lucasfilm, Disney, Lucasfilm don't care about Luke. They just don't care. Instead, Obi-Wan goes after Leia and has a connection with Leia instead of Luke. Like, that makes no sense. And it shows that I have no idea why they went this direction. It just makes no sense. And of course, we got to talk about Moses Ingram, Reva. She's a terrible character. She's stupid, basically. But of course, Lucasfilm had to defend her in some way, and so instead the only way to defend her is by taking the racist route. Star Wars fans are racist apparently because they hate a black character, even though she's a terrible character. She's not intimidating, she's not sympathetic either. She's just a bad written character that basically has a stupid motivation, like she's trying to avenge her Padawan friends during Order 66. Like, what? But it's the way to honor them is to join the Empire, join the person that killed them. God, this show is so stupid. So after Obi-Wan, it went downhill from there. Andor came out and it flopped. Low ratings, everything. Then you got Mandalorian Season 3, which also had low ratings. Star Wars has gone downhill from there. But don't worry, we got other franchises that Lucasfilm owns that they totally will not ruin. Willow is another classic Lucasfilm movie. Now, I'll be honest, I have not seen the original, so I'm going to be very quick about this one. So Disney decided, hey, we're going to make a new show, and it's going to be, kind of like the original, you know, basically back to the roots of what made the original great. So we decided, hey, we're going to cast a lesbian couple, you know, that would be great. We're going to cast Freckled Jesus herself, you know, because she was so great in Falcon and Winter Soldier and Solo, a Star Wars story. And did I forget that there's a lesbian couple? I mean, we're making history right there. Like, it's going to break so many records. Lucasfilm is just so, you know, representative. You know, they're very progressive. You know, they really care about, you know, representation. And if you disagree, you are a bigot. That's all you are. You know, it's not because, you know, these characters are terrible. You're just a fucking bigot. Willow was so good that they canceled it after one season. And it got removed on Disney Plus because nobody was watching this. Even though it was a masterpiece, obviously. And now we are all caught up with the recent Lucasfilm failure with Indiana Jones and the Dial of Dipshit. And of course, you guessed it, it is about a miserable and grumpy Indiana Jones, according to the leaks, of course. And speaking of the leaks, oh boy, this is not going to turn out well for indie fans. With the main focus being mostly on Phoebe Waller-Bridge, you know, the franchise killer. She basically, you know, ruins everything she's in, like James Bond or Star Wars, even with Solo, and now Indiana Jones. And she is developing a Tomb Raider series. Oh God, no. No, please, please, please. And of course, again, you guessed it, she's gonna be the bestest ever. Because of course, women are superior to men. You know, they're better at everything. Men are just stupid and miserable like always. So the movie comes out in a few days as of this recording, and it's not turning out well for the box office, as it's set to only hit 50 million in its opening weekend. Wow, that is just pathetic. And it shows you that everyone's done with Lucasfilm. Everyone's done with Disney and tired of ruining these characters. Tired of Disney and Lucasfilm ruining these characters that we know and love. All these classic characters. Like, everyone's tired of it. Lucasfilm is in a bad place right now. But don't worry. They still got films like Dawn of the Jedi, directed by James Mangold, and a Rey Skywalker movie, and a Dave Filoni film. And those are definitely going to save Disney. Time will tell, but everything is just not going well with Lucasfilm. It's not going well with Disney either. And as a fan of myself, I just don't care. I'm done with this. I'm tired of them ruining these characters that I know and love. I'm tired of it all. And whatever brings me back, it either has to be George Lucas buying it back, which seems very unlikely. And that is a shame. And to end this video off, let's have a montage of all the projects that were canceled by Lucasfilm.